Greetings, YouTube. Happy Saturday. Sometimes recently when Kabam has kind of had a pattern of making it to where they know that they want to drain your units, but also maybe they've run out of ideas for offers, they just throw back in the featured store item special offer. And so it looks like until October 1st, which is on Tuesday, right around the corner, somehow September is gone. Green Day is almost going to be waking up because September is almost over. Somehow, by the just most insane of margins, we have the ability to greet October like September never happened, at least to me. When you teach, the month can just seem like it's out of control as much as possible. But we're going to do something on this channel that we like to do with these featured items. This might be a little bit longer of a video because we're going to take our time. We're going to do this right. And we are going to essentially do what we can to not only grade the best featured items, but kind of where does the cap happen, right? Where does it get to a point where if you start buying more than this certain amount of inventory that it becomes a bad deal? Because that, I think, is what's most helpful to the average summoner, and that's really what I like to do when I do these kind of videos. So let's remind ourselves before we begin. We're going to we've got two things to grade today, but we're going to do them in separate deals. Interestingly enough, 5-star shard bundles are normally reserved for when featured items are not part of this, but we're going to do this right. We're going to put out two videos, take our time, help the community, and hopefully have some kind of opportunity to succeed at helping people make good decisions, because that is kind of the lane that my channel likes to take. I don't discourage purchases, just poor purchases. Okay, let's start with the 5-star Hero Crystal Shards. By the way, I'm only going to be talking about the top ticket items of this, because things like 4-star Shards, Grandmaster Crystal Shards, 4-star 6 stones, etc. Even the 5-star Cinder Stone class-based crystals are just not as worth it. All right, so if you're Cavalier, remember that on average you should get 1 5-star per 10 Cavalier crystals, which is 2,000 units for a 5-star champion on average. Obviously, that's not guaranteed, but that's about what the drop rate suggests. So because of that, I've now been trained to tell myself that a 5-star should cost 2,000 units worth of value, and that doesn't even count the 9 other crystals, which who knows, you might get a 6-star in one of those, but at least 9 3-stars guaranteed from Cavalier crystals. So if you get 1,000 5-star shards, that's 180 units. I think that is a really, really solid value, because if you were to multiply that times 10, that would be a 5-star crystal for 1,800 units, which is 200 units below what I talked about being the Cavalier crystal. I would not recommend anything over 5. I think if you want to get a cheap, easy 1,000 5-star shards, particularly because we just had a bonus, thankful to Kabam, 5,000 5-star shards from the Summoner Appreciation Calendar, and so maybe even if you don't have a 5-star before, you might be able to get close to one just with these two things. I would recommend spending 180 units. It's not that things above it are a terrible deal. They're just not amazing. And anything below 5 gets an even higher value. Even if you just do 200 shards for 18 units, that's an A value for sure. But I think up to 5 is like a B plus to A minus value, and everything else above that, you lose value. Now let's talk about 6-star shards, something that still almost has a 1-to-1 ratio when we talk about units to value. In fact, we still see quite a few times Kabam trying to say, hey, for an Odin, for $100 American, we'll give you a fourth of a 6-star. So because of that, when we look at the 5 comparatively to the 5-star, what's nice about this is it still gets under the 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1,000 units for 1,000 6-star shards. And I think 1,000 6-star shards for 750 units is actually a pretty decent deal, particularly how hard it is to get these. And if you don't run Alliance War like I don't, and maybe you focus mostly on Map 5 and Alliance Quest like I do, you're also kind of hurting your chance to get 6-star shards. And you can see that I am getting close, pretty close to forming my next 6-star. I'm about 75% on the way to form my next 6-star basic crystal. So I'm probably going to pick this up and actually do it over the 5-star shards as well. So this is my favorite deal so far from this. Now, the temptation is to talk about the 5-star Cinder Stone crystals, but I don't like these because these are class-based, 1 out of 6 RNG, and the RNG as referenced by several people who've actually sent me their recent luck, including some Tier 4 class Catalyst crystals. You don't get the class you're targeting. In fact, the algorithm that is unique to every account that Kabam tracks your purchases, and I've done videos on that before. They actually have a patent that they legally were approved of, and so it's not illegal to do that, though it's pretty shady. You just have too much risk with these. And it starts off at 12 units. Let's talk about this. For literally 3 more units, you can guarantee yourself a generic instead of a class-based. Now, 1 signature stone isn't a lot, but at the same time, you get to use it on any awakened 5-star champ, or you can hoard these, and if you have the monthly subscription-based service, you can actually hoard now 125 of them. And when you talk about 5 of these, that's 125 units. I actually think for this, I would go down to 4. 4 of these would be my max that I would say gets a high B grade. But if you need 5-star 6 stones, do not buy the class-based. Stick with the generic. I don't even know how they can justify putting those sort of next to one another, when the generics for just a small price more are so much better in terms of their value. Now, sometimes when I talk about Tier 1 Alpha Catalyst, I kind of skipped this last time, and there were some people who said, Prof, these are not the easiest to get, and I can't believe you didn't talk about them. And so I said, my apologies, next time when this comes back around, I'll remember. Well, guess what? I remembered. Let's talk about this. So it is 2,800 Tier 1 Alpha Catalyst fragments to form a fully form, and it's over 500 per. So if you were to form up to 100 units worth, that's 12. Okay? So 100 units gets you, what? At least, a couple of these. Because times 10 would be 5,600 fragments, and that's over 2 of them. So yeah, if you want to get a couple of Tier 1 Alphas and you have a hard time getting them, I would recommend up to 12 of these. About the 100 unit mark is where I like to cut off for a good grade. And if you want to just go down to, say, 5 and just get a Tier 1 Alpha that way, 5 of these for 25 units, that's an A deal. So those of you that were trying to point this out to me, you're absolutely right. I apologize for missing this the last time that these were open, but I want to say that I did not miss it this time. So 5 to 12 of these are what I would recommend if you need some Tier 1 Alphas. Keep in mind, you need 5 of those to take up a 5-star upper rank, so you can burn through them quickly. You can go from having a full inventory of those to thinking, where the heck did they go? Did Thanos just snap his fingers and they go away? Now, Tier 2 Alphas, these things are very expensive, and so are the Tier 5 basic Catalyst fragments we'll talk about in a second. And so sometimes, because you can get these for free in the Glory Store, even though it's nice to have the opportunity to get more of these, they're usually not the best value. And so when we talk about 5 of these, that's almost 300 units. I think for the units, it's actually much better for a value, even to go with the Tier 1 Alphas. But if you're not going to go there, go for the 6-star shards, the 5-star shards, the generic signature stones. I just don't think this is the best place to put your units, particularly in a week that we just came off of. Those of you who have the calendar access and you've started from the beginning, we got not 1 but 2 free, fully formed, 36,000 Tier 2 Catalyst fragments a piece, Tier 2 Alpha Catalyst. So if you're close, I only recommend this if you're somebody who, with those 2 fully formed, and along with maybe the others in your stash, now has the ability to take like a 5-star to rank 4 if you need 4, because that's how many you need. If you're close to that, then I get it, but if not, there's a better use for your units. Speaking of which, we have to scroll all the way down because the Tier 5 basic Catalyst fragments are normally the most expensive large ticket item in this, but in some ways also the most coveted. I am only about 13,000, actually make it about 12,000 Tier 5 basic Catalyst fragments away from forming my next fully form, which would be my 3rd in my inventory, despite even after taking Sparkles to rank 565 in the last couple weeks. For this, let's look at what the price of 5 is, just for reference. 750 units, or the same price as the 6-star shards. Now, that's going to get you 4,500 of those, and that's about the retail price of what we have seen for special offers, because sometimes they'll say for 1,000 units, they'll give you like between 3,500 and 4,500, but they'll also give you bonus items like Tier 2, or excuse me, I guess a little bit of Tier 2 Alpha Catalyst fragments, but also they'll give you something like Tier 4 basics. That's what I was trying to think of. So because of this, you only get the Tier 5 basic. You don't get anything else. And so I actually think this is one of the worst values, despite the rarity of the item, because it's actually a better deal. given that you can't get 6-star shards from the Glory store to spend the same 750 units that we have discussed on going up. 1,000 6-star shards. If you have a limited amount of units and only 750 to spend, I would just say spend your glory on tier 5 basic catalyst fragments and use that for a 6-star, and hopefully you win the lottery and get someone like a 6-star Corvus or Domino or Ghost, etc. But either way, this is the kind of video that I really pride myself on. I know it's longer. It's over 10 minutes, and I usually like to keep my videos to between 5 and 10 if I even get to that. But at the same time, it's really important to me that when people make purchases, they take their time, they understand the value of the units and how much Kabam is trying to take them from them, and not all deals are the same. So those are the best and worst values of the new returning featured store that is until Tuesday. If I did not cover the item, unless you catch me in like the tier 1 alpha like last time, I would just say don't purchase it. I would not recommend it. And I really do think if you stick to the inventory caps I talked about with around 5 per, unless you're talking about something like tier 1 alphas, you're going to be doing yourself the best in terms of overall value. Have a great weekend, YouTube, and good luck to everybody who is going for a certain class when, at the time of recording this, the 5-star class-based Awakening Gym hits the Summoner Appreciation calendar in the next few hours.